Would you like to live your best life possible, regardless of your imperfections? Discover cutting-edge tools and inspiration to let go of your limitations and expand your life beyond what you've ever imagined. On Imperfect Brilliance, we help you tap into your unique gifts and talents, uncovering and letting your brilliance shine. Join certified facilitator and coach Betsy McLoughlin as she delves into different areas of your life to get unstuck and create the life that is truly possible for you. Betsy has changed her life by utilizing the tools and techniques she is sharing with you. What if your willingness to acknowledge your brilliance is the catalyst to creating a new reality? When you stop judging you, what else can you create in your life and in the world? Join Betsy live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern to create magical and joyous possibilities for an hour of laughs, questions, tips, and more. We are excited to contribute and play with you.
Welcome to Imperfect Brilliance, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I truly am grateful for your emails and your comments and your suggestions, and keep them coming. I love hearing from you guys. And today, we're going to talk about magic and the magic that you truly are. And I'm very excited to have with me a wonderful lady, my guest today, Miss Selena Ardelean. Welcome, Selena.
Wow. Thank you so much for having invited me, Betsy. I was listening to the presentation of the show and I was like, oh my goodness. Wow, what an invitation. Wow. So thank you so much for this.
You're so welcome. Thank you. And I really, truly do love doing this show, and we have such amazing conversations, and we do use the tools of Access Consciousness throughout the program, and we share a lot of questions and tips, and we never quite know exactly where our conversations are going to go, which is so much fun. And I personally truly believe that we are all magic. And for me, it's like the more I embrace my magic, the more that shows up. And so I'm wondering, well, before we start with that, I would just like to tell people a little bit about who you are, Selena, and where you are in the world. And so Selena and I did meet through Access Consciousness. We met at a big class in Washington, D.C. I don't know, what was it, maybe 3 years ago now at this point? 2-3 years ago?
Not even.
No?
2018. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, August 2018. Wow.
Wow. Yeah. And so for me, Selena was this bright light, and just we had so much fun laughing and talking and meeting each other, so even in a room full of people, there are certain people that you are kind of drawn to, you feel just like a connection to. And for me, Selena was definitely one of those people. And since then we have, been fortunate enough to see each other in some different places around the world. And Selena chose to become a certified facilitator, what was it, a year and a half ago?
In 2018, I was one of the graduates of the Australian certification class.
Wonderful.
Actually, it's the same year. And, it was the class in Washington that's been such an inspiration to me. So this is not just random. There is magic in it.
For sure. So, Selena, where do you live when you're not traveling?
This is a very good question. Well, I happen to live in Brussels, in Belgium, and don't you just love technology that we can connect like this all over the world? Doesn't matter if we're traveling or not.
Totally.
And but now I'm living in Belgium. But for those who might wonder, I was born in Romania and I moved to Belgium like 16 years ago. And maybe that was the beginning of where I was really willing to look at the magic of there is in life. So, yeah.
Well, and I love that you brought in even the thing about technology, and truly, you know, that in itself is the magic, you know, and the people who created this technology, so that here we are on a radio show. You're in Belgium, I'm in the United States, and, you know, our producer is somewhere else, and we're able, and he does his magic to create the show and makes it seem so easy. And, you know, like, so it's where is magic being created constantly, you know, and are you actually acknowledging it and grateful for it?
Oh, you said, wow, you already hit the nail. It's like, where do you create magic? And to me, this was for the first time that I actually was willing to look at it was when I was very young. You know, I had this way of looking at things through my half-closed eyes. I was looking at the light, and I could perceive a totally different reality, let's call it like that. But somehow I put it outside of me, and I thought everything was outside, so nothing in me. And at some point, somebody asked me, are you willing to look at the magic that you're bringing into the world? And I was like, who, me? Oh, come on. Oh, come on. It was a moment of vulnerability where I was willing to look of what I have created in my life and how magic it is. So what if true magic is actually willing to create something? Really be willing to create something different, something that is true for you, something that makes you giggle and makes you laugh. To me, personally, magic is there where I can find my laughter. It's as easy as that. Wherever there's magic, it's Selena laughing.
I love that. I love that. Just, you know, and it really is this playful, joyful energy of, you know, the exuberance of life. And, you know, there is so much magic in everything that we be and everything we do and everything, like, and so for me, and I would love to hear what you get with this, the more you acknowledge, it's like an invitation for more to show up. How is that for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I will be honest with you and tell you that the first time I acknowledged this magic, and I would like to invite everybody to think about, or not think about, but consider what their definitions are of magic. So when I was invited to look at it and to acknowledge it, I realized that I was so, you know, used to receive judgment from people. But I had a hard time, like in inverted commas, to really receive the magic that I was being, to acknowledge it and to receive it. And it was a huge step for me when I was like, okay, cool. So I might not be receiving it totally today. I might be uncomfortable with it today. But what would it take? Universe, show me. And this is actually something that I'm kind of doing every day. When, you know, things tend to be like dim, dull, annoying, boring, I ask, universe, show me something magic. And it's like a matter of fractions of seconds that you actually are presented with all the magic there is around you. Are you willing to receive it? Are you willing to acknowledge it? Are you willing to just dive in and say, well, if this is magic, you know what? I am magic. That's it for today.
So fun. And I know there was a while, and you touched on it a little bit with the judgment piece. And there was definitely a period in my life where I shut down the magic that I was inherently. And, you know, like looking at that now, it wasn't that I did it consciously. It was way more of a, unconscious thing, but I had done it in so many different places, and looking at it now and asking questions, I'm like, oh, how much of that was me, just like not wanting to be judged. So I would just shut down either capacities or things I was aware of, because people, there had been people who told me when I would share certain things that was impossible. And so I would either believe them, right, and go, oh, well, they must be right, and I must be making this up, or, whatever. And so with that, over time, it was like I was closing a lot of doors to the magic that I be.
Yeah.
So did you do any of that same type of thing?
Never, Betsy. Never. I'm like the most magical creature in the world. No, I'm kidding. Of course I did. Actually, before I met Access, I think I was the most aggressive. How do you say that? Passive aggressive person in the world. I was like, yeah, sure. I was like smiling between clenched teeth. And actually, I was so upset and furious with everybody around. But with Access, I actually started to ask questions. Who am I actually angry with? Or what am I actually angry with? And with the bars, God, I wanted to say thank God for bars, but that's thank Gary for bars. Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness. It's where I first began to let go of that anger and of that, how should I say, clenched teeth. And to me, it was, I had a rough period. I mean, I was born in Romania. I lived in the communist Romania. This is not a story. This is just a context. Nobody was allowed to do magic. You were actually pursued for everything that wasn't in line with the rules and regulations. And somehow it got imprinted in me until I realized that this is actually going against me. So when I got to Access and to bars, and I will have to say something, that the body processes did their magic. So I don't know how I would have done it without bars and body processes and verbal processes. I don't know. Yeah. But I did it. It was choice.
So for anybody listening, just really quickly, if you're not familiar with what she's referencing, which is bars and body processes, they're energetic processes that really start changing so many things for your body. And with the Access bars, it's a very gentle touch, different points on your head that releases stuck energies and emotions. And for me as well, that was kind of my first foray into discovering Access consciousness. And so there's energetic things, there's clearings, there's questions. And so we play with so many different pieces. And so for me, when I started to get the term, slang for it is to get your bars on, and it's basically, you're laying down on a chair or a massage table or a zero gravity chair or wherever. You can do it on the ground, it doesn't matter, and somebody just gently touches your head, and you can do it for 10 minutes, you can do it for a couple of hours, and when you get, like afterwards, you feel this space of peace, tranquility. You're like, the chattering is gone in your head. And for me as well, as to what Selena was describing, I too was very passive aggressive, and just like I had a lot of frustrations and angers, and I'm just not that person anymore, and I attribute so much of it to these body processes that she mentioned, and the questions and choice, saying, what, this living like this did not work for me, and it doesn't sound like it was working for you either. And so you made a choice to change it. And then when you start making that choice, and this is part of the magic that we all create, things start showing up in your universe that will answer and, align with what you've asked for. And so for me, right, and it's not like a straight line from, A to B, but when I said, you know what, I really don't want to live, I was miserable, I was thinking about maybe like if something didn't change, I wasn't sure that I wanted to be on this world anymore. Like I was in a really, really dark place. I had gone to therapy. I'd done some different things. And I was like, oh, God, something's got to change here. By starting to say those kinds of things started showing up in my universe. And through these different things, that's how I found bars. And after my first session, I was in my car going, I don't really know what just happened. All I know is I had a sense of peace that I hadn't had forever. So you talk about magic, and right. And so I was like, and I remember calling my friend who had told me about it, saying, "Oh my God, thank you so much." And if everybody got their bars run, think how different this world would be, and there's a lot of unrest in the world and all kinds of things. And it's like, so when you think that you alone can't make a difference, well, what if you actually can, right? But it might be different than what you think it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what if your magic really reveals itself when you're willing to ask for something different? Mm-hmm. This by itself, asking for something different and not staying in the same rat race, or how do you call it, in the same loop, willing to get out of that. The whole universe is already ready. It's like, okay, babe, you tell it, I'm delivering it, just ask for it. So it's not like, I would like to have it, but I don't like to have it, because it comes also with, are you willing to receive what you're asking for? So sometimes, and as you said, it's not linear. So I can give you an example of my magic. So when I did my ever first bar session, a 15 minutes, a friend of mine came along and said, "Hey, I learned something. Do you want me to try it on your head?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course. I'm the generous one, right? You get the the enthusiasm in it." And she said, "Okay, you lie down, and I'll put my fingers there and there and there." And I'm like, "Okay, do whatever." So I'm lying there for 15 minutes. I stand up, I look at her. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know who I was. And I'm like, "What is this?" And she said, "Well, you can learn it. It's very simple." And from that moment on, everything unfolded like in unbelievable ways. And the example is, so this was the first 15-minute bars. And then at some point, I remember, just wondering, what would it be? What would it be to be able to travel all around the world, to meet all these phenomenal people, to make money with what I like to do and who I am, and then just, every month to be somewhere else? Guess what? At the end of the year, I sit on the plane to Sydney, to Australia, and I have my agenda in front of me. And since February, when I met bars, each and every month, I have been traveling somewhere with a plane. I had asked for it. The universe delivered it. And when I really looked at that, I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And instead of going into, it cannot be, I went, you know what? What would it take to have even more of that? And guess what I got? Well, until Corona came, and then we all stopped. But it doesn't stop me from traveling, like right now with you, across the oceans to be with you in the States, or for you to come to Belgium, right?
Yeah, just a different way. Well, and I love that you brought in that piece, the acknowledgement piece, to this conversation, because it really, truly, like to acknowledge, like, you know, you asked for it and look at it's already showing up. And, you know, hearing this story, it's just the beginning of what you are desiring to create with your life. And by acknowledging it, you know, it invites way more of it to show up. And I love that that's such a beautiful example of what has already changed and the magic that you be. And, you know, so for everybody listening, if you would even be willing to write down 5 things or 10 things that you've created in your life that maybe you've never acknowledged before, it really can be quite fun. And I actually have something fun that I'm going to acknowledge with you, Selena, and I'm going to send you a post. Funny, right before we got on this show, I was like, oh, I need to send Selena a picture of this. So one of the things that we've both been fortunate to see in person is what is called the Antique Guild. And our friend has an antique guild in Australia that he runs and buys antiques from all over the place. So he does have a physical location, and he also does a traveling jewelry show. And you talk about fun, and they have such an amazing ability to attract these gorgeous pieces of jewelry, all different styles for men and women, all different styles, gemstones, gold, silver, you know, like whatever you could possibly imagine. And it's so much fun to just go around and look at the stuff, try it on, play with it, be in the energy of all of this beautiful jewelry.
Absolutely.
Right.
Oh,
and so it's
goodness.
like you talk about a magical time, and everybody's having fun, and they don't care if you try on, you know, 200 things and walk away with nothing. It's just about playing. And so there's such a beautiful invitation even in that to, you know, there's no high pressure sales. Like, you know, you walk into a lot of places and you feel like, okay, everybody's watching me, and if I don't buy anything, you know, you get all this stuff. You don't get any of that with these shows, so it's a lot of fun. Well, I was playing and trying on different things and had absolutely no intention of purchasing anything.
As always, I have to say that. Yeah.
No, I'm just going to play, and I have done that several times. But this time, it was about a year ago. I put this ring on, and my whole body was just like, oh my God! I mean, it was just this absolutely gorgeous ring. And I looked at the price tag, and I'm like, well, that's not happening right now, you know, like.
Okay. Can I ask a question? A question, please? How many times do we kill the magic that all our bodies already experiencing with the price tag?
Exactly.
Would we be willing to just drop that?
Yes, absolutely. So the rest of the story was I realized what I was doing and how I had been, and I was like, you know, and I went and I stopped the excitement that and I'm telling you, when my body really is excited over something, she was just like, oh my God, and I was thinking, well, you know, okay. So I went from the assumption that it was too much money, I couldn't pay for it, blah, 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 to, all right, well, you know, let me see if maybe they would do payment plans and keep it for me until I can pay it off. So I asked the owner, you know, and it's like, do you have something like this, or do I just need to come back with the money? And he's like, I will work with you. And so I made payments, and I just received this ring, and
Congratulations!
Thank you. It's so exciting. And so for me, that was magical to go from, hey, I can't afford it, to, oh my gosh, I have this gorgeous ring. So we are on our first break, guys. We will be back in a couple of minutes. Thanks for listening to Imperfect Brilliance.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organisation, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
The student asks the teacher, "How do I experience transformation?" The teacher replies, "When the student is ready to receive deeper answers, the student then asks, 'How do I know what deeper questions to ask?' And the teacher replies, "When the student decides to commit to a practice inviting transformation, level 2 questions will be revealed." Hi, I'm Tomas Garza, and as a teacher and host, I'm inviting listeners to enroll in the Mastery of Transformation by joining me on Decide to Transform, your bridge to level 2 answers. Tuesdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hi, you guys. We are having a wonderful conversation today with Selena Ardelean from Belgium when she's not traveling, and she's also a translator for Access Consciousness. So she's creating a lot of magic in her life, and I just love these conversations. So right before the break, I was acknowledging some magic that I created and how even changing a point of view, you guys, is magical. And so I went from thinking and deciding that this ring was way too much money to it's on my finger now. And,
Yay!
And it is like, yay. And so what kind of ways are you guys creating magic that maybe you've never acknowledged before?
And there is one question that came to me. Somebody asked me, "How do you know you're magic?" And I'm like, okay, so have you opened your eyes this morning? Yes. Well, you're magic. You made a choice. You asked to be here and to create something different possibly in your life. Okay, but how do I know it? I said, what if you trusted that your body is going to tell you exactly when you're magic and exactly when you're not? So this is something like you said when you put the ring on your finger, and that your whole body started to like have this buzz and be happy and be excited. Yes. And could you miss that? I don't think so. I mean, like you could not go aside of that. When the body is excited, everybody knows it. And you know what's the more interesting part here for me personally? When you're willing to be the magic that you be, and that you're no longer listening to the judgments of the people around you, even if it's just for 5 minutes, your whole glow changes. And then people look at you and they say, hey, something changed, you lost weight, or your hair is different, or no, it's just you being magic. And there's no definition for that. Truly no definition for the hugeness, the miracle, the magic that you be. And then Betsy, you asked something to write down a list of all the magic things that you have created in your life up to now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I would like to ask you is, how many miracles and magic have you created today since you opened your eyes? Are you willing to acknowledge that? And I know that for some of us, and for me, it was, if it's not something bing, bang, boom, that it's so in my face, I would not acknowledge that. But then if you're allowing yourself the space of just look at things and say, hey, as Betsy said, change your point of view, something that might seem normal to you. What if there is magic in it? What if there is magic in your wrinkles? What if there is magic in your eyes? What if there is magic in your whole body? What if there is magic in the way you're making your coffee? What if there is magic? What if? Are you willing to look at this? Are you willing to look at what if there is magic just in you being who you be? Has it ever happened to you that you stand next to somebody, you don't know that person, and that person turns to you and says, hi. And you're like, hi, and you start a conversation, and maybe you find out that that person had a very bad day, but you're smiling at that person. And then that's the magic you be, the magic that you're willing to, how should I say, to bring in this world that changes the world of other people around. What if you being you is the magic you truly be? What if you being you is actually the invitation for everybody around you, who knows you, who doesn't know you, to ask themselves, well, if I were magic, who would I be? What would I be? Where would I be? When would I be? What would I be choosing? What would I be creating? And just play with it. Because to me, there is no magic in being serious. I'm sorry. And for those of you who like to be serious, well, I don't know. I don't know. There's no magic when we're serious. I was trying to look for something and say, when you're serious, that's magic too. I cannot bring myself to say that.
I've been very serious in my life, and I've not been serious in my life, and what works for you? There truly is no right and there's no wrong. It's what brings you joy, what brings you happiness, what lights you up, what lights your body up, and whatever that is, are you willing to play with it and follow it? Yeah.
And are you willing to? Yeah. Sorry, you were. Yeah. Go on.
That's okay. Go ahead. Are you willing to?
I was like, are you willing to be that magic even if the people around you don't get it?
Well,
because
there's a great question. And so what could you suggest for people who might kind of go to a space of constriction for if people around them are not enjoying what they're seeing or hearing?
To me, it's like nothing that other people do is not related to you. None of their reactions, none of their responses, they are not linked to you. You are just presenting them something that makes them either question or react, either go into action and ask a question or react. So to me, it's like, well, do you like all types of chocolate? No. Mm-hmm. Would you have to, have something to say against the type of chocolate? Well, maybe you don't choose it, but that's a different story. Why would you get bothered with what other people cannot take? Are you willing to be who you are? Because this is where I've been told so many times, you're too much, you're too loud, you're too funny, you're laughing. Can you imagine? I've been fired from 2 places because I was laughing during the lunch break. And they said I wasn't serious enough for their work. Now, imagine if I allowed that to just follow me through my life. It followed me until one point.
Yeah.
But then I decided, hey, what magic was I being that some other people were not willing to have? So it's not about me. It's about them. It's actually how they relate to me. If you trust yourself and you know who you are and you're willing to have your magic back, then you might be surprised, as Betsy said, changing your point of view works miracles. Your point of view creates your reality. And this is key. Your point of view on magic is going to create the magic that you be. How about that?
I love this conversation so much. I truly do.
I didn't know we are going to talk about me getting fired, but this is, wow, thank you for this. This conversation makes me acknowledge some stuff which, it appears it has been in my world, but I haven't been willing to look at that. Because, being magic asks presence, asks the willingness to stay with whatever comes into your world and ask a question about that. Then it's not always comfortable, but once you go beyond that discomfortable whatever, now there's the bliss. There's that bliss that, how should I say, sparkles brighter than anything. That is the consciousness of it all. So yeah, thank you for this, Betsy. It's really, whew. Speaking of, magic goes hand in hand with the willingness to be vulnerable, when you don't have any barriers and when you're willing to look at you like naked, totally naked, and say, wow, I'm actually a wonder. And I wonder, what more can I be?
Yeah. I love that question. And I love asking I wonder questions because for me, it gets me out of trying to figure out how to have it, or how to do it. And even if we go back to my ring example, I started asking, I wonder how long it will take me to create the money to pay for this ring, and then it just became like a game, and things would, all of a sudden I get this money. It's like, oh, I can put that towards the ring. And I asked the ring to contribute to me. And, right. So that's magic, right? Playing with all of this and saying, okay, how much fun can I have with this? And not, like if it had taken me 5 years, great, a month, great. Like that piece didn't matter. It was, so when I got that out of my universe, when I got the significance out of my universe.
Yes, that's the key. That's the key. Oh my God. Yeah, that's the key. When you get over significance and you're just playing with it. And you said the I wonder questions. I use them also a lot. And what it appears to do with me, it sparkles that curiosity of a child. I truly wonder, what can I do here? What can I be here? What else could I ask here? What else? And this curiosity that makes it, it's like a treasure hunt. I don't know how to put that into words. It makes me excited and it makes me want to look for things and to discover new things and get out of my boring definitions of an adult mom of 3 kids who has to be responsible for whatever. And I can get to be that sparkly kid looking for something that's exciting and that's going to create even more when there is no significance into it. Oh, yeah. That. I love that. Personally.
I love it too. So what other ways have you acknowledged that you've created magic?
Well, I have one example. It's like, what are you based? And I was like, okay, computing. No, it's not about computation. It's about there where you already had this spark. For example, I like to paint. Okay, I've never been trained to paint. I'm just like, I jottle something and I'm like with brushes, like blah blah, whatever. But then, in the beginning, whatever I was painting, I was criticizing and judging for not being perfect. And I somehow started from that point of view that I am creating, like I am the creator. But then I realized that my creations have nothing to do with my head. The moment I have a brush in my head, I might have an idea, maybe a starting point. Let me reassure you, it's never how it's going to end up. Never.
True story.
Ever.
True.
And there's the magic. When you're willing your brush to go on that canvas and do whatever it wants to do, or however it wants to, to dance on the canvas, that's where you're being the magic. You're not interfering. You're not putting your head inside and saying, no, I know better. No, your whole magic knows better. And then the last piece I did, I was like looking at it and I was like, I didn't have any idea it's going to turn out that way. And then I looked at it and I said, this is magic. This is magic. And it, how should I say, it poured out of my brush. I was there as a vehicle. I didn't, tossed it on the canvas. So this is where I've actually acknowledged that when I'm taking my head out of whatever I'm creating, like the mental computation calculation, blah, 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 blah. If I do this, is this, I need the more dark blue here, more red here, whatever. When I'm taking my head out of whatever I'm creating, there's where magic can happen. There's no place for magic when you're controlling with your head.
Oh,
so what would
wow.
it take?
Yeah, that is key for me as well. And, so when you do go to that whole control piece, it does limit what can show up. And so between the control and the judgment, how much magic is actually able to filter through. I remember, I've done a lot of art. Sorry, I'll just finish this myself. And when my son was little, I would create things, and then I would judge it and throw it away. And this isn't good. This isn't good. And I would just throw it away and start over because it wasn't how I thought it had to be, right? And so my son was going in the trash can and pulling them out. And then the next day, he brought them back to me. And I looked at them, and he's like, Mommy, these are beautiful. And he looked at what I had decided the day before was so awful and looked at it and go, why did I throw this away?
Exactly.
He taught me so much. So there's magic in that, right? The magic of children, and what can we learn from them?
Absolutely. They are actually walking, talking magic. I also have 3 boys at home, and I sometimes surprise myself being my mom when I'm telling them when they are too loud, shut up. When they are too noisy, shut up. When they are too, whatever, just stop. And then I'm asking, okay, if I were me, who would I be here? Because what's showing in my presence is that the willingness to be who they are without anybody imposing anything on them. And actually my son, my oldest son, I was totally taken aback. At some point, we were discussing about he would like to do some cosmetic treatment on his face and whatever. He's He's 14, 15 now. And I'm like, now maybe girls like curly hair or something like that. And he says, Mom, I don't care what girls like. This is what I desire. And I was like, oh my goodness. How many times have I given into what other people want or think that would be better for me, and dismissing whatever I knew, I desired, I required, I wanted. And what a chance, what an absolute amazing chance these kids have to be able to be themselves. And yeah, are you willing to receive that? Wow. Sometimes it's that is such a gift.
It really is. Are such a gift, and I love like that you can acknowledge that when you might be like, oh, okay, you're driving me crazy, and even in that you can change what's going on. And so it's this constant dance, isn't it, with all of these things that we've been talking about in our conversation today. And I wonder, like how much more magic could we all invite into our lives?
Exactly. And how magic can we be to transform or to shift everything that's not working in our lives with total ease. Like, what magic can I be here to have stuff like my project roll smoothly, or have the stuff that I would like to get done with much more ease. And it starts with the willingness to be the magic that you be. And then you ask questions. And some days, I'll be honest, some days it works. Some days it's like, I totally forget there is magic in me. But then I have the tools, the other tools. And one of my favorite tools is, okay, if I'm not laughing, if I'm not sparkling and giggling and I would like to bite the head of somebody off, I go into, okay, who does this belong to? Whose world am I tapping into? Whose world am I connecting to? Whose world am I making actually real for me that compels me to be grumpy and sour and cranky and whatever? And if this doesn't work, well, I played smart. I taught my kids bars. So guess what? I'm paying them. They run my bars, and the magic is there. Again.
And kids are so magical with energetic work, and they again don't have a point of view. They stay out of their heads. They just go in and they be. And, they're right. And with that, there's so much magic in it.
And they do it so fast. To me, that's the biggest magic there is there. They don't have to stay on my head like hours and hours. As you said, they don't have the points of view. They just do the finger and they, I'm like totally, who am I today? After they are done with me. It's also the willingness to want to change and to shift something. Because you can stay cranky, you can stay, sour, but if you have the tools at hand, what tools can I use here to regain my magic, to acknowledge my magic again? And sometimes it can be, not a bar, but take a cup of coffee, sit down, and take a piece of paper and ask, okay, cool. So what magic have I brought into the world today? What is magic about me today, right now? And there might be one thing or two things or no things. But when you're willing to be the space for the magic to occur, you're also willing to lower the barriers and to get out of the contraction. You're willing to just sit and be the magic that you be.
Yeah. That's so true. And, there are times when I definitely do not feel like I'm magical at all. And that's okay too. And then you can start asking questions and say, oh, I wonder what I've actually been creating that I haven't. acknowledged. And so when you start asking questions, the beauty of questions and the reason that we talk about them so much on this show and, use them throughout all of our facilitation is that questions can change anything.
Exactly.
And a question will empower you, and an answer just does not give you that same power. It's just a question empowers. So what questions can you ask when you're looking at anything in your life? So what questions, as we round out this unbelievably fast time together today, Selena, what are some of your favorite questions that you use in your daily life?
It's very easy. What magic am I that I haven't acknowledged yet? That's one go-to question.
Love it.
And then it is, if there wasn't any problem and if I didn't have to be right or wrong here, what magic would I allow myself to be? So it's not that complicated. I'm sorry, it's not complicated. It's your question that's going to open up the door for, you don't know it before you have asked the question. You don't know it. You ask the question and then you drop it and you'll see magic everywhere. And remember in the beginning I said, universe, show me. Show me something magic. And when it appears, when it shows to you, what would it take for you to acknowledge it?
Yeah.
And there's one thing that I really love about this is that it takes one to know one. You started the show saying there are these people, when you see them, you would like to connect with them. Betsy, this is mutual. It takes one to know one. So thank you so much for the magic you truly be. And we all know your magic. We know it. We see it at work, and we see the sparkles everywhere. So thank you so much for not giving up on that and for being this, I would not say advocate, but I would say living example and this invitation for all of us to step into this space. Thank you so much.
Wow. Okay, so now that I'm crying, thank you very much. Oh, wow.
You're welcome.
Absolutely
You're
beautiful.
welcome.
And thank you, and being willing to actually hear the words that you're saying right now and receive the magic that is, the beauty that is, you guys, that's such a gift. Such a gift. So, anywhere that you're, you start receiving something like that, and you might feel your walls going up and like, oh, I can't, no, and like pushing people away. What if you actually are willing to lower your barriers and receive that beautiful gift, like the gift that I just received from Selena? And, it just filled up.
Oh my gosh. That's loud with gratitude.
Thank you, Selena, so much. Thank you guys for listening to this amazing show. I'm just so grateful. Go be the magic you truly are.
Thanks
you, Selena.
Be magic.
Totally. Be magic. Bye, guys. Thanks.